Baby, be in love with your fantasies. I can be a star, make us shine so bright. Welcome to my dungeon, this is ecstasy. Let me play the fantasy.
What's good, YouTube? It's your girl, Asia.
And it's your boy, BJ.
Back in the building.
Back in effect.
Back like we never left.
And we appreciate y'all for tuning back in. Pulling back up for another pull-up session.
Yeah.
Y'all, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to be checking out DeSouza absolutely destroyed the leftist college student. We're about to jump into it and check out and see what he did.
Right. This was actually here, y'all. Now that we've been on this, like I feel like I get all these requests about like stuff that people want us to like check out, which I'm all for because I'm just like, if y'all are putting us on to like good stuff, good. Okay, but I have no idea who DeSouza is, but this was one that was sent and was like, you gotta check this out. I think you would actually get something really good out of it. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Join the family, y'all, and let's go.
Hey, let's check them out and see. And this is my first time saying anything from DeSouza.
Yeah.
After World War II, the white middle class soared to prosperity as a result of bills like the GI Bill. And African Americans who were coming home from war didn't get those benefits simply because they were African American. The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs denied African Americans access to those benefits simply because of their race. And you are correct in saying that no one today dealt with that particular issue. With that being said, however, there was wealth amassed as a result of those programs that still exists today. And when I think of your example about an individual who works as a janitor and sees people dining in a beautiful cafe walking home from work, I want to ask you, do you think any of that indignation, given certain circumstances, might actually be justified simply because there have been systematic blocks in people's way throughout American history, not ending with slavery, not ending with the Jim Crow laws, not ending, some would say even today, we still have housing discrimination, all of which is to say, you found that during the Cold War era, there was a massive boom in the white middle class's prosperity, and you just didn't have that among African Americans, not because they weren't meritorious, but because they were discriminated against.
So, let me ask, you know, we're in a very smart college. It's worth pursuing a discussion on these points. So there are Americans whose present benefits are due to past advantage. By the way, this past advantage, which is often assumed to continue with the white man, actually goes all the way back to the beginning. The American Indians who were here first, right, had a huge advantage. We presume that they owned the whole country. Now, by the way, let's pause for a moment. How do you get to own a country? If you have Cain and Abel is a shepherd, and Cain is a farmer, and Cain says, okay, I'm not going to put a fence around the whole world. I own it, because I'm the only guy here. You're a shepherd. And my descendants will now inherit the earth, and anybody who shows up is a usurper. Rousseau says that the first guy who puts up a fence and claims he owns something is a con man. So the American Indians came. They happened to be first. They came in a bunch of tribes. The Navajos who got the land took it from the Hopi or the Pueblo. Their law of the jungle was conquest. That's how they got the land. There's a big fight about the Black Hills that I cover in the film. The Sioux who got the Black Hills took it from the Cheyenne. So when we say, oh, give us the land back, are you going to turn around and give it back to the Cheyenne? Oh, no. It's ours. Really? How come you own it forever now? So what I'm getting at here is history is very complicated. Let me give you an example of India so we can look at this at the level of theory. Okay? India was invaded by the British, and earlier by the Afghans, and the Persians, and the Mongols. So you have all these successive invasions, right? Are you actually saying that you believe in a rule of social justice today that says globally, let's look at this as a global rule of justice. I'm going to figure out whose ancestors did what to whom, and I'm going to return goods that were illicitly taken from the beginning to the people who had it originally.
I like how I kind of like where he's going with this too, because it's almost like who do you give it to? Who really owns it? You know, he's going so far as to like they're speaking about like who owns it, like going back to like the Indians and talking about, you know, the Cherokee and the Cheyenne and who actually had it. I mean, history can get very, 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 very like confusing in regards to this part, trying to figure out exactly like who owns it, who deserves such.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to like the whole reparations thing that we like
reparations.
The reparations thing that we were discussing just the other day, where it's like, should we go back and just start slapping sanctions on the people because they did something, like their ancestors did something to us that, you know what I mean,
that they have no bearing on, that they had no say so in. But I'm kind of liking where the South is kind of going with this right here, because I never heard it from this perspective right now so far.
Yeah, the way he's kind of breaking it down right now.
Goods that were illicitly taken from the beginning to the people who had it originally. Do you believe that that's a viable way to organize our society? Do you believe, if I can ask you a direct question, that you are the beneficiary of white privilege here at Amherst?
I
yes
do.
Or no?
Well, yeah, and
Pause.
Okay.
If you are, can I ask you a further question?
Okay, yeah, but I don't just say it in a I don't say it in a self-flagellating and self-aggrandizing way.
Hold on. Okay, go on.
You know what? I really try not to. I'm simply saying that because you asked me. Really, I view the recognition of one's privilege as an impetus to change things. So I don't just say I have white privilege. I try to help those who have not benefited from such privilege.
How? Hold on. Let's pursue this for a moment.
Sure.
You say, this is actually very important because there's a psychology here, right?
Well, you see, I'm going to answer your question, but I'm really not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to be provocative. I just find that often, I think the essence of much of this discourse surrounds hypocrisy, and you're trying to demonstrate that I'm a hypocrite. I say I benefit from white privilege, yet I don't actually do anything. But I'm gonna backpedal and say that ultimately I think what the greatest vice is cruelty, and I don't want to be hypocritical. So to answer your question, I'll start in high school. I mean, do people want to hear this, or do we?
Educated. Go ahead. Tell them. Let them know.
Look, let me say where I'm going with this, because I think you're.
All right. Well,
too bad.
all of which is to say, it's not like I picked anyone out to help based on the color of their skin, but I was a tutor for people who tended to be low income when I was in high school. I suppose that would be one direct answer to your question, because oftentimes disparate educational opportunities are grounded in disparate economic systems, or systems that produce disparate economic outcomes. So that's one way that I would combat it on an individual level.
All right. Here's what I'm getting with this, okay? One of the benefits of a good education of reading people like Nietzsche is you begin to understand how deep the human desire is for moral self-exculpation. Moral self-exculpation. Now, you say, and I didn't say this, you said this, I'm a beneficiary of illicit white privilege, okay?
Illicit?
Well, isn't all white privilege illicit? Is it deserved?
Well, in this current system, there is legality. I mean,
illicit means immoral.
Okay, then
immoral white privilege. Yeah. Okay, so then.
Yeah, he got this college kid, like he's like he has him backpedaling. He has him like rethinking everything that he just sat here and just said from the very, very, very beginning.
I feel like he's trying to ask questions, but he's asking him questions that are making him almost like, yeah, I said, he asked me if I had the white privilege, but I don't think, like, his intent was not to say, yeah, you know, like, it's not like he said, he's not bragging about it. He didn't, you know, he asked him a question. If you ask me a question about being black, that I'm a black person, and you ask me specific question to being black, then, and it's a yes or no question, and you answer that question. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that I personally feel some type of way about what he's asking. So I think that's why he's trying to backtrack, and he's like, and just to answer your question, he's like, yeah, you know, because he did ask him, you know, in regards to how he, helped people like that. In his way of going back, he's like, let me just backtrack a little bit. And that's why he started kind of going back. I think he used the wrong word by saying immoral white privilege. So that's where he kind of stopped now. But I think he's kind of, he has a little bit of entanglement with his words, but I feel like he's trying to ask the good questions, the right questions, but now it's like...
The South is on him right now.
He know too much to be like, no, I'm not letting you out of it.
The South is on him right now. He's on him right now.
And if I were to say to you, there are surely many deserving minorities who would like to come to Amherst but have the inherited disadvantage of American history. Therefore, since you are an acknowledged beneficiary of illicit privilege, would you be willing to step aside voluntarily, putting your own moral mouth where your self-proclaimed virtue is, and give your seat, not my seat. I realize you may be super generous with other people's advantages and favor affirmative action, so other white kids who apply to Amherst are turned away to open spaces for minorities. But I'm not talking about you acting out your virtue on them. I'm talking about you acting out your virtue on you. Are you willing to give up your illicit seat that you don't deserve here at Amherst to make room for a disadvantaged minority? Yes or no?
Okay, well, let me start here. I don't know how you got on the topic of affirmative action.
By following the logic of your...
No, I never said specifically that I think that race-based affirmative action is the best way to rectify the systems of injustice that...
Why don't you practice it by stepping out? And why don't you go to the registrar tomorrow and tell him you want to withdraw from Amherst?
Are you listening to what he just said to you? Get on.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Think about it.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean... Look, I'm only continuing to engage because you continue to engage with me, and I do want to hear other people's questions. But in response to that, again, what you're trying to demonstrate is that everyone's hypocritical. As someone once said, that we're all dirty up to our arms, right? We're not all perfect. None of us is perfectly morally consistent. Now, I've said absolutely nothing about affirmative action. The fact is that I believe everyone in this room is hypocritical to some degree. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive for a more just and equitable system entirely. There have been points in my life in which I have given up some of the privileges with which I have been endowed simply because I realized that it wasn't the right thing to do. At the same time, I think everyone needs to survive, and that we understand that we exist in an imperfect system, and that we have to conduct our business in such a way as to not only adhere to our moral standards, but to the standards imposed upon us by the system in which we live. And I think that we have to be generous to people in their efforts to not be hypocritical and to do their best. But I don't think that we should totally throw away the idea that we shouldn't have those standards at all. So that's my response to you, but I would still like a response to my question regarding the inequity that I talked about with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. That is wealth that is passed down, and it's documentable wealth. The same way that the wealth created, or the wealth stolen as a product of slavery, was also documentable wealth. We have numbers that demonstrate precisely how much wealth was stolen, and that's money that in some way could be given back. Now, if we're saying that it's absolutely impossible to give that money back because it's too hard to trace, we'd have to give money to the African tribes, we'd have to give money to people who no longer exist. That's absolutely fine, but we have to understand that we haven't really come to terms with that injustice that's been perpetrated, and if we are admitting that no one is perfectly entitled to absolutely everything that their ancestors had stolen from them, then we also have to accept that there are people today who benefit from the fact that their parents and grandparents profited from this immoral system. And the way to deal with that is with a social safety net that enables everyone to thrive. I'll leave you there.
Yes. Well...
it is a true fact in regards to what he's saying, in regards to other people benefiting more than others. But I like how the Salazar kind of challenged him in regards to saying, will you give up yours, will you give up your privilege to give it to somebody else?
But I think, and if you really want to be honest, I think, more than half of the people that you ask that question will say no. Because like you said, is we do
survival.
have to survive. Like we do, and it's like I can't be sorry that I exist in this environment, in the system that I was brought into. I cannot be sorry for that. However, I can try to do what I can to help in the ways that I'm able, but that doesn't mean that I have to give up like my entire lifestyle or my seat to prove to somebody that I'm not that person.
Yeah,
that
I'm morally competent in regards to, the matters at hand. Like I said, regarding like race relations and the disparity in society.
Wow, though. I mean, but even to say that, he still had a really strong point in what he was trying to say and what he's trying to explain. But I do see where he's talking about with the inequality. I'm interested to see where he's gonna go with it, because I don't know. I just feel like it's a touchy subject, because the way that we've explained, like, and now that we've heard like a little piece of the history in terms of slavery, it's like you'll be paying back everybody. You know what I mean? Like, literally giving back to everybody, because everybody did it.
Or you're not gonna know who actually to give it to.
Yeah, especially if there's documented like stolen wealth from it. So then, shoot, everybody should be compensated. Somebody got the money somewhere.
But I like the sounds as like radical thinking, because I never would have thought somebody say like, no, will you give up your seat based on your privilege to give it to somebody else who's been disenfranchised?
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like the majority of a person would say no.
But I like the college student's response to that though.
Yeah.
The core of the American system, this will actually answers your question directly, is that what do we do about the conquest ethic of the past? And here there are two options. One option is we establish equal rights under the law. That was the solution of the civil rights movement, that we have had race-based discrimination, we've had racial hierarchy. Let's stop. Let's treat people according to the color of this, according to the content of their character. Equal rights under the law. Equal rights under the law. The other option, which you're defending, is you could essentially call it, let's correct for history. Let's correct for history. Let's try to find out who are the people in possession of stolen goods, and let's return it. Now, the first thing I'm trying to say is, this is a hugely controversial principle, because it actually involves wrecking the freedom of a free society. You basically have to put it frankly, if we were to carry that out, go into people's homes and take their stuff. Take their furniture, take their cars. You don't seem to have even the guts to do that. You don't have the moral self-confidence to do it yourself. It may be, if I am advocating a rule of social justice and I'm advocating it for the whole society, before I persuade everybody else, let's say I'm a Christian and I believe everybody should give 10% of their wealth to help the poor. And I go, you know what? The Bible says this, the Bible says that, everybody should give 10% of their wealth to help the poor. And somebody says, Dinesh, are you giving 10% of your wealth? And I'm like, actually no, but I did do some tutoring. And you go, wait a minute, aren't you advocating, aren't you saying that there is a moral duty to do this? Why don't you do it? Before you convince us, you do it. And you're like, I don't think I should do it because society is extremely complex, and I don't think I should do it unless everybody else does it. No. Either you believe in it and you do it. Once you've done it, you might impress us. And then you might convince the rest of us that our wealth is also ill-gotten. But you can't do it. And I'm not trying to indict everybody of hypocrisy, only you. Because you're the one who said, I'm the beneficiary of illicit privilege. So you're a really good starting point, because I'm asking, if you're in possession of stolen goods, why aren't you willing to return them? So that's why fundamentally I see your charity. You know, during the Civil War, there was a guy who goes, I'm very happy to give, I've given 3 cousins to the war and I'm ready to sacrifice my wife's brother. That's basically your ethics. You're willing to have social justice if other people pay, but you're not willing to pay. So that's the problem. And that's the problem with the progressivism that marches behind social justice while protecting its own privileges. You know how you said, we all have to survive. Really? You have to be at Amherst to survive? You don't have to be at Amherst to survive. You have to be at Amherst to benefit. You have to be at Amherst because you're getting opportunities at this college that many other people are not getting. So if you say you believe in equal opportunity, you're a hypocrite because you are taking advantage of opportunities unavailable to others. But for you, this hypocrisy is fully justified because you are militating on behalf of the poor. But if you are against privilege, this college is privilege. So there's a glaring hypocrisy, and you will never turn your moral mirror on yourself to say, what am I doing about it? That's my point. For you, society should act before you do to enforce your moral code.
Right.
Let's take a couple more questions.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
I mean, well said. I stand corrected then.
Wow.
Because
with him coming around to this point, I like that.
because then it's almost like, you know, okay, you want that to happen, but you want society to jump in. You want everybody to be like, everybody's taking all the furniture out. They're returning all their cars. They took it all to the places where we can give it all back to the ancestors of the people who belong to the ancestors of the slaves that were stolen and bought and affected, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And until that happens, it's like, well, shoot, I ain't finna give my stuff up. I ain't finna take my stuff back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but I explained that before. I just feel like there's too many steps. There's too many things in place for people to justify how that would even be split out. Because even if that were the case and everybody were like, okay, fine, I put in all this money. How do you justify how much, who, where does it go, who gets it? How far back does that go? You know what I mean? Because then you got to think about all the things that have to be in place for exactly that. How many more jobs you got to create for something like that? To do that, to carry that out, and how long that might take.
Yeah, in regards to, like you said, like the swing of like you said, the white privilege and trying to, like, you know, turn the power over or give it back to someone who's been disenfranchised for like generations. I guess is what you're saying. But like for me,
I think people want to do the right things.
Right.
I think people have in their mindset, you know, they want equality. They want to do the right things and make the right steps. But I don't like he said, it's like I don't think anybody really thinks through like all the things that go into that, you know, it's like, yeah, everybody says what they want, but how much of the work will we all have to put in for that to actually happen? And that's the part that nobody wants to deal with. Like, that's the part that I feel like keeps us stuck because nobody's going to do that. They're just not.
Right, because it's going to be based on your own self-intuition and your own self-will to do it, to do so. And like he said, it's based on everybody's like survival or, you know, I got to have my stuff. I got to have X, Y, and Z, you know. But really though, like the sounds, I like the way that he just broke it down to this college kid and just really just put it right back into his face, because he, you know, the college student and the college student was pretty eloquent and how he spoke as well too. But I just like how he really challenged him to think even further than how he was thinking, because he's like, yeah, okay, that's cool that you went back and you helped tutor some kids, but that's not really solving what you're saying in regards to the reparations and giving back to the disenfranchised people that you feel like you've been given a privilege to. Like, just because you went and tutored somebody, that's not equal value in regards to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's why he was like challenging him, saying that how can you expect everybody else to come up with this conversation in regards to reparations and giving back to you know, black people
because the problem is bigger than you. It's bigger than us. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I feel like he was more so trying to explain. The problem is bigger than just you. It's bigger than just your feelings and us. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot larger. You got to think about it on a much larger scale. Yeah. And I definitely he kind of opened my eyes to that a little bit. Like
it's on a larger scale, but like he said, it comes down to like him, like what are you gonna do, rather than saying what everybody as a whole, a society needs to do. It's going to start with you being that example.
Right.
Who's going to jump out the window first? Who's going to really go all out to to go for what they're saying that they believe in.
Yeah.
You know, you can say it and give a lot of, and just give a lot of mouth service, but
But do you think that even if he were to do that, like, yeah, just say, I mean, granted, I hope he wouldn't, especially if you're at a privileged college like that. How many people do you think would actually do that? And what recognition, or how many people do you think will follow if he leads? You know what I mean? Especially when it's something that major, that, it dignifying to your life. You know what I mean? Like,
if you had 10 people and you lined them up and they were all at Amherst and they all had the, they're saying who's going to give their seat, their position to the privilege that they've been given, I would say probably maybe one or half of a one person.
it might cross their mind, but they're not going to do it.
Right, because
But that's what I'm saying.
Because your own self-will to live and to prosper and to, like he said, somewhat to survive is going to kick in.
Yeah.
But
he said to go to this school is a privilege. It's still a privilege.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
who's going to give that privilege away?
Right.
No, we're not saying who's going to bring another kid in and tutor them to help them out. No. You give them your seat, and then y'all roles reverse.
Yeah.
And I like the hypothetical question. I like it because it's really, really good for debate.
Yeah.
And you got everybody in the room kind of thinking too as well. So
yeah. But he made a great point at the end, though. All that to say, he made a really good point.
He can't. Yeah, we brought it all the way back around.
Right.
Absolutely, he
Full
did.
circle. Because I was like, for a second, I'm like, yeah, good question. The college kid was asking good questions.
On point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the dialogue, so I could really appreciate watching this. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I won't give a shout out because I don't know if she wants me to. But hey, if y'all enjoyed this video, y'all let me know what y'all think about this down below in regards to the professor and the student, or to DeSalza. I hope I'm saying his name right, and the college kid. But if y'all enjoyed this, make sure you give us a big thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, smash the notification bell. Y'all join the family. And if ain't nobody else told you, I love you. And we gonna see y'all in the next video, y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Y'all take it easy.
Bye.